Hey folks, I'm really excited about the two classes coming up in January. These are going to be absolutely awesome. I've worked on them now for months. In fact, I've worked on them for years. Let's start with the spirit that moves in and through all things. You'll notice that in the philosophy workshops that I define where it is located, in the area of spirit, so to speak. As you start the journey, you go through the subconscious and then through the spirit that moves in and through all things and then into the spirit world. And what I begin to do is build a picture of this connection to everything in our physical world, everything from a grain of sand to the largest whale that is found in the ocean. And then I take you on a what I call a spirit walk. It's actually called a force spirit walk. Now, the term force, I grandfather borrowed it from the Taoists. They called it the life force, but it's so similar to the spirit that moves in and through all things that it's might as well be the same thing. But anyway, after those simple exercises, and my one of my favorites is that spirit walk. That's a real eye opener where you go out and explore an unknown trail, or you find an unknown trail, and then you come back to the lecture area. I lead you through this journey where you come out of your body and actually take that walk along the unknown trail. And lo and behold, 95 to 98% of you, when you go out to explore it physically, you find several of the things that you saw while you were on this spiritual journey, the force spirit journey. And that's kind of where I leave it. And grandfather did the same thing. He brought us to exactly where I bring a philosophy one class to. And I couldn't understand for years why he didn't readdress or expand upon the spirit that moves in and through all things. But then when I was about 15, 16 years old or so, that's when he brought it back in. And I could understand then why he held off for so long by having a firm foundation in both the way of the spirit and the way of the temples. We understood the teachings of the force, the spirit that moves in and through all things, so much better. And basically, this is exactly as grandfather taught Rick and I. And you're going to find this is the powerhouse of all things spiritual and temple. This is the real nuts and bolts. It's where the pencil hits the paper and where every day you will use this. You'll integrate this into every part of your life, and it will blow you away, the various things that are going to be taught. I'd say that 98% of the teaching is absolutely new. I've never taught it before. Yet, no matter what level of education you have at the Tracker School, whether it's, a basic class or even Philosophy 9 or Temples 3, you're all going to get so much out of it. In fact, people that have very little of the philosophical background are going to get a lot out of it because it's so usable. Again, of course, I've got to call on my elders and my keepers of the wisdom to help out with people if they struggle a little bit. But I don't think that's going to happen. And it's like one of these things I've been chomping on the bit for so long. But now, given the circumstances that surround us now, in the physical and the spiritual world, this class is a must. Absolutely. The second class that's coming out in January is going to be held for 2 days. the first day will come at the end of the Spirit that moves in and through all things. We're then going to wait a week and then run the second half of the class. And you can look at our webpage and see, exactly the times and everything else. And again, this one is going to run over. And it's kind of exciting because for a while now, I've been running B-roll. In other words, I carry a small video camera in my truck whenever I go anyplace, or on my person when I go like back into the primitive camp or just in the woods around the house here. And I've gotten a lot of great B-roll from the very large perspective to the very smallest of detail. And this class is going to absolutely blow your mind as a tracker. I kid you not, that again, 98% of that information that I'm going to give to you, I've never taught before. And again, it makes no difference what level you're at, but this sign tracking is going to be the ultimate doorway to survival. Let's face it. Why would you want to track in a survival situation? Well, one of the reasons is if you wound an animal, you've got to follow it till where it finally gives up and passes away. The other reason is just to confirm what animals have been in a certain area when, and if they're, hungry or whatever else. But sign tracking, that teaches you where to hunt, when to hunt, where to place a trap, what to bait it with. And the list goes on and on and on. You think that the general tracking workshop with all the pressure releases and the differences in animal families and how to follow tracks and everything else was extensive. This one is like so much more information and so usable. We'll use tracking, the art of following a trail, or using, for instance, a footprint to tell whether an animal's hungry or tired or aware or whatever else, but it's only a brief treatment. That you pretty much had in a standard class and beyond. But sign tracking, there's just so much information, absolutely fascinating. I start out with all my tracking scenarios. I find a track, isolate it, identify it, and all the characteristics that are found in the pressure releases, and then I expand my vision to take over the whole landscape. So by doing so, I know where the trails, the runs, the secondaries, the manifolds, the lay areas, the feeding areas are all going to be associated with that one track. And it also tells me about the circumstances of why they put the trails in the areas that they've chosen. Remember what grandfather said, that an animal is an instrument played by the landscape. And that's such a beautiful quote. And grandfather admitted it wasn't from him, it was from the elder lineage. But anyway, this class is exciting no matter what level of tracking or interest that you have in tracking. Once I'm done with you, you're going to be obsessed with tracking, because this is going to be one of the most used areas of the whole tracking toolbox, so to speak, of skill. You might have learned a little bit, but this stuff goes way off the wall. Wait till you see.
I'm excited.
Just amazing. I mean, if you follow what grandfather taught and the lineage taught, every time you go out, you'll probably pop a deer. Which kind of takes the fun out of hunting, but I'm serious about that.
Wow.
It so expands your world. Like the first time I pointed to the ground and there was a dent, and I said cat track or whatever, and you went, whoa, all over the place. This was like it.
Nice.
All right, Dave, I'll talk to you Sunday. I'll probably talk to you before that.
All right. Sounds good, Tom.